Hello and a warm welcome. You've made an outstanding choice in purchasing the ABUS wireless alarm system to securely protect your family against burglary, mugging, fire and other everyday hazards. Through this sample video, we'll show you how to set up your ABUS wireless alarm system swiftly and easily. Please note, however, that the film can't be a complete substitute for the printed manual. We'll go through with you how to implement the following installation on a step-by-step basis. Our default installation. Anna, Brad and Jennifer, our sample ABUS family. The three live in a small flat. We install opening and motion detectors from the ABUS wireless alarm package as well as a smoke detector in this home. The opening detector monitors the front door, while the motion detector is installed in the living room, since this also includes a balcony, a potential access route. Meanwhile, the smoke detectors are installed in the bedrooms for 24-hour-a-day safety. We set up the system to be controllable externally as well as internally. Via an internally activated system, you can move around in the home and the alarm system will ignore alarm signals from the motion detector. When our ABUS family leaves the home, the external system is then activated, whereupon the alarm system now reacts to alarm signals from all detectors. To ensure this functions effectively in practice, the detectors must be adjusted to correspond to specific types of area. The opening detector used to monitor the front door is set up for zone 01 and is factory adjusted to suit an entry-exit area. The motion detector is set up for zone 02 and is factory adjusted for the internal area plus immediately setting. This means it only starts monitoring when the system is externally activated. The smoke detector is set up for zone 03 and is factory adjusted to cover fire areas. This order of setting is vital to ensure a successful installation. All the components used in this video are ABUS wireless alarm package components. The wireless smoke detector can be obtained as an optional accessory. The core of your package is the ABUS wireless alarm system. Let's now look at how to get started. Installation of the ABUS alarm system. The ideal installation location for the ABUS wireless alarm system is defined by the following four criteria. 1. The system should be placed as centrally as possible in the area to be monitored. 2. A freely accessible 220-volt main socket must be in the immediate vicinity of the installation location. 3. For the purpose of the alarm call function, an analog telephone connection must be present. 4. The ABUS wireless alarm system must be installed at least 1 meter from both the ceiling and the ground. Firstly, remove the base plate and front plate using a screwdriver. Carefully fold the front plate upwards. Carefully pull the flexible strip cable away from the base plate attachment and place the front plate to one side. Take out the battery compartment from the base plate. The next step is to separate the boards from the base plate by carefully folding out the retaining clips outwards. Now remove the boards. The base plate serves as a drill template for marking out bore holes. Remove, when necessary, the cable openings for the power supply and telephone connection on the underside of the base plate. We recommend the following. Set the damper switch to box and wall, which will trigger a sabotage alarm when the system is opened or taken away from the wall. Now screw the base plate firmly against the wall. Caution: ensure the power supply provided is not yet plugged in. Run the power supply and telephone cables through the opening in the housing. Screw the base plate securely down. Reinstall the boards previously removed. Insert the power cord into the connector on the board. Connect the telephone cable to the right telephone connection with the label Line. Caution: ensure the power supply remains off. Take the battery compartment and insert the batteries provided, respecting the correct polarity. Slide the battery compartment from the top into its base plate attachment. Bolt down the battery compartment. Connect the flexible strip cable of the front plate with the base plate. Tilt the front plate from the top into the base plate. The front plate must audibly click into place. Screw the housing to the underside. Now plug the power cord into the mains. The system begins to operate. To ensure the system continues to work smoothly, the correct date and time must now be set. Setting the system time and date. Press the star button to activate the user functions. Navigate using the right and down arrow buttons to menu option 6, Clocks. Press the pound button. You are then requested to enter your 4-digit Grandmaster PIN. The factory default for the Grandmaster PIN is 1, 2, 3, 4. Press the pound button. You are now in the Clocks menu. Press the pound button to set the system time. Use the system button pad to enter the new time, for example 1030 for 10:30. Press the pound button. Navigate using the right up arrow buttons to menu option 2, System Date. Press the pound button to set the system date. Use the system button pad to enter the day, for example 1/5 for the 15th. Press the lower left lock button repeatedly to change the month, for example MRCH for March. Press the lower right arrow button to go to the year setting. Use the system button pad to enter the year, for example 2007 for 2007. Confirm input with the pound button. You can exit the menu by pressing the star button several times. The LCD display of the ABUS wireless alarm system now shows the newly updated date and time. Your ABUS wireless alarm system is now ready for programming. So, now that your unit is assembled and properly operational, you still need to sort out the detectors. The pack includes an opening detector to monitor windows and doors and a motion detector to monitor rooms. Installation of the ABUS wireless opening detector. The wireless opening detector is used to monitor windows and doors. It's divided into two parts, the transmitter and the magnets. The transmitter-magnet combo system should be mounted in a central position on the upper rail of the window or door to be monitored. For windows, the detector can also be mounted centrally underneath as well, so that the window can be tilted while the system is active without the alarm going off. Caution: a window ajar is an open window, which represents a safety risk. For this reason, we discourage this type of installation if possible. Installation. Open the housing using a screwdriver. Carefully remove the boards. The rear side of the housing now serves as a drill template. Fix the rear side of the housing in the desired position. The rear side of the housing must be installed on a planar surface to ensure the wall tamper contact is closed. Reinstall the boards back in place. Assemble the magnets. Magnets and detectors must be assembled in parallel with the minimum possible space between them. Be careful of the marking here. Ensure the batteries provided are inserted with the correct polarity. Shut the housing once the setup process is complete. If the detector has been properly installed, the red LED will light up when the windows or door are open or closed. Installation of the ABUS wireless motion detector. The wireless motion detector is used for monitoring interior room spaces. It reacts to thermal motion. The optimal mounting position is in a corner of the room, approximately 2 to 3 meters above the ground. Caution: pets may inadvertently trigger the motion detector and set off a false alarm. The detector should not be installed adjacent to heat sources or windows, over a heater, or in the vicinity of an air conditioner, near to the ground, in the vicinity of large metal structures, within a radius of 1 meter to power or gas connections, in the vicinity of electronic appliances and radio transmitters. Installation. Open the housing using a screwdriver. Carefully remove the boards. Remove the recesses for the screws. When installing on a level wall surface, you can also remove the recess for the wall tamper contact. The rear side of the housing now serves as a drill template. During installation, the nose of the housing should face downwards. Fix the rear side of the housing in the desired position. When installing on a wall, the rear side of the housing must be installed on a planar surface to ensure the wall tamper contact is closed. Reinstall the boards back in place. Ensure the batteries provided are inserted with the correct polarity. The LED begins to light up. Shut the housing once the setup process is complete. The motion detector and opening detector protect you against burglary. For additional security, you can install a smoke alarm. The ABUS wireless alarm system offers you the possibility to integrate the optional ABUS wireless smoke alarm into your system. See for yourself how simple it can be. Installation of ABUS wireless smoke detector. The smoke alarm goes off in the event of fire and when smoke is generated. Smoke alarms are always to be installed in the central part of the ceiling. In other words, the highest point of the room being monitored, and cover an area of approximately 40 square meters. The detector must not be installed in locations normally exposed to steam, such as bathrooms or kitchens. For ideal safety, individual smoke detectors should be installed in the following: in bedrooms and children's rooms, in hallways, and within living and working spaces. Installation. Remove the base plate. The base plate serves as a drilling template. Fix the base plate in the desired position. The smoke alarm must now be set up to work with the main system. Now the detectors and the system must integrate and operate in tandem. The professionals call this step setting up the detectors. Access Programming menu. To make the following settings, you must log on to the system as a programmer. The programmer has access to more rights than normal users. The following is how to access the programming menu. Press the star button to switch to the user function mode, followed by the buttons 9 and 1. You are then asked to type in an installer code. When the product is delivered, the default code number is 0133. Press the pound button. You are now in the programming menu. Setting up all three detectors. First of all, a zone must be assigned for the detector being set up. Use the right and downward arrow keys to go to the menu option 2, Zones. Press the pound button or simply press button 2. You are now in the Zones menu. Menu option 1, Allocation, is indicated. Press the pound button. The system now proposes a free zone for the detector. In this case, Zone 01. Press the pound button. Use the right and downward arrow keys to go to the menu option 2, Rewrite. Press the pound button. You are now allowed 255 seconds in which to set up the detector. Ensure when doing so that the damper switch on the transmitter is pressed and held for at least 3 seconds. This allows the alarm system to recognize the detector. Press the pound button. The motion detector is set up for the 02 zone. To set up, press the pound button. Use the right and downward arrow keys to go to the menu option 2, Rewrite. Press the pound button. You are now allowed 255 seconds in which to set up the detector. Ensure when doing so that the damper switch on the transmitter is pressed and held for at least 3 seconds. This allows the alarm system to recognize the detector. Press the pound button. The smoke detector is set up for the 03 zone. To set up, press the pound button. Use the right and downward arrow keys to go to the menu option 2, Rewrite. Press the pound button. You are now allowed 255 seconds in which to set up the detector. Now insert the batteries respecting the correct polarity into the smoke alarm. Fix the smoke detector to the base plate. In the next 30 seconds, the detector sends a setup signal to the system. This allows the alarm system to recognize the detector. Press the pound button. The opening detector is now set up and assigned to Zone 01, the motion detector to Zone 02, and the smoke detector Zone 03. No further programming of the zone types is necessary for this example installation, since the detectors are already pre-programmed in the factory. Pressing the star button twice brings you back to the main programming menu. Your hardware is assembled, the detectors have been set up, and now take a further look into your pack. There's still something there, the ABUS remote control. This allows you to activate and deactivate the wireless alarm system at your leisure. The only proviso here is that the remote control must firstly be set up to work with the wireless alarm system. Use the right and downward arrow keys to go to the menu option 7, Key Fobs. Press the pound button. You are now in the menu Key Fobs. Menu option 1 is displayed. Allocation. Press the pound button. The system now offers free memory space for the remote control. Here, board 1. Press the pound button. Use the right and downward arrow keys to go to the menu option 2, Rewrite. Press the pound button. Press and hold the Activate key on the remote control for at least 5 seconds. The LED on the remote control flashes and the ABUS wireless alarm unit confirms the successful setup with a signal tone. No additional programming is necessary since the remote control is pre-programmed in the factory with the following default key assignment. Button 1, Away. Button 2, Disarm. Button 3, Panic. Button 4, Stay. Pressing the star button twice brings you back to the main programming menu. Use the right and downward arrow keys to go to the menu option 0, Leave Programming. Press the pound button twice to save the data. Your ABUS wireless alarm system is now ready to use. You can now conduct a simple test of your system. We'll spend the next few moments explaining how. The simplest way is to activate your system with the wireless remote control, since the relevant buttons are already predefined. However, the system can be directly activated from the system itself. Use the lock buttons for this purpose. The right and upward buttons for Away,
System armed in Away,
and the 2-color lock buttons on the bottom left for Stay.
System armed at Stay.
If your system is configured for fast setup, factory setting, then simply press the relevant button. Otherwise, use the buttons to enter your user code, followed by the appropriate lock button.
System armed in Away.
Caution: the system can only be activated when the ready LED lights up or flashes. The system can be disarmed by pressing the Disarm button on the remote control.
System disarmed.
The system can also be disarmed via the system itself. To do so, enter your 4-digit user PIN and finally press the opened lock button.
System disarmed.
Let's test out the system once. Shut the doors monitored by the opening detector. Activate the system via remote control.
System armed in Away.
Now open one of the doors monitored by the opening detector. After a preset delay has elapsed, the system triggers the alarm.
Front door. Disarmed.
Congratulations! Your ABUS wireless alarm system is now ready for use. You can now expand your system at any time and thus adapt it to your own individual safety needs. Further information on expanding the system and optional wireless components can be found in the accompanying handbook and on this DVD. ABUS, the good feeling of security.